many thanks for joining us on the program. I am Imoni Amarere. On the program today, we shall continue our deliberations on the state of insecurity in Nigeria and the critical challenges it poses for stability and development, especially as the country is moving towards another general election. And when Nigeria conducted the 2015 general elections that brought into power the current administration, it was under the shadows of the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. 7 years down the line, the country is confronted with many more security challenges on different fronts than anyone could have ever imagined. The Boko Haram insurgency has grown into a full-scale terrorism with international dimensions in the form of ISWAP, which has complicated an already bad situation. What was regarded and branded as banditry has developed into full-blown terrorism with all the characteristics, including abductions for ransom, bombings, killings, destruction of whole communities, beheadings, and many more mind-boggling crimes against humanity. This has spread beyond the northern part of Nigeria to every other part of the country. While militancy in the South-South region has been doused largely by the efforts of local leaders, the Southeast has boiled over with the violent agitation of the separatist movement, the indigenous people of Biafra, otherwise known as IPOB, and the bloody campaign of so-called unknown gunmen. Not forgetting, of course, the bloody clashes of so-called Fulani herdsmen with local farmers in many communities across the country. All of these put together have led to many to the conclusion that Nigeria is effectively at war, not on one front, but in several axes, all at the same time. The recent audacious and brazen attacks on critical infrastructure and innocent citizens, particularly in northern Nigeria, has led many to question the sincerity of the federal government at prosecuting the war against terrorism beyond platitudes and semantics. Available figures indicate that over 1,545 lives were lost in the last 90 days in Kaduna, Zamfara, Niger, and Katsina states, and maybe a few other states in the north, to terrorist attacks and abductions. The latest are the embarrassing attacks on the Kaduna airport and a Kaduna-bound train at Wijasa. About 180 persons are said to be still missing, unaccounted for, after that incident that claimed 8 lives, at least by official accounts. This alarming situation has resulted in the government of the United Kingdom issuing a travel advisory to its citizens and those of the Commonwealth against visits to at least 7 northern states that are considered hotbeds of terrorist activities. The concern is that more countries may follow suit, with more states added, and thus practically turning Nigeria into a pariah terrorist state. The Nigerian government last week held consultations with the presidents of neighboring Niger Republic and Chad, ostensibly to solicit their support and collaboration in dealing with the situation, given the reported involvement of foreign elements in the terrorist acts. Is the government overwhelmed by the magnitude of security challenges? How far can this collaborative initiative go in limiting the influence of these terrorists into the country? Some governors in the most affected states in the north, led by Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State, have threatened to hire mercenaries to fight these terrorists if the federal government fails to tackle the situation decisively. What is the implication of this to national security? Is it even a possible solution? But these are some of the issues that we will be looking at on the program today. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this break. Thank you so much for staying with us on the program. Let's get to meet our guest analysts who are right here in the studio with me. First, from my far left is Commodore Abayomi Balogun, a retired military officer and former Deputy Director of Operations and founder of Green Heroes Foundation. Thank you so much.
For the pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We're also joined by Best Man Nze Jumbo, who is an alternative security expert. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. All right, to start off our discussion, let's take this soundbite from the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai.
Tell you what the problem is not. The problem is not lack of intelligence. We have enough intelligence about these terrorists to take action. The problem is not surveillance. We have enough surveillance equipment. The Air Force undertakes enough ISR. The SSS has informants all over. We know, and we have technology to listen to their conversations. We know where they are planning, and we get the reports. The problem is for the action agencies to take action, for the army on the ground to go after these bandits, not wait until they attack and then you respond. To go after them, go to the enclaves and wipe them out, for the Air Force to bomb them from the air. Initially, and I've been saying this for the past 2 years, initially the problem was these guys are not terrorists, so if you bomb them, you are killing civilians and you'll have problems with international human rights organizations and international criminal court and so on. But now that they have been declared terrorists by the federal high court, they are legally liable to be killed without any consequence in international human rights law. So this is what we're asking. The army, the Air Force, the police on the ground should just go after these people. We know where their camps are, we know where they are, we have their phone numbers, the SSS listens to the conversation, then they give me the reports. I get reports regularly that say that this is about to happen. This is being planned. We know where these people are. Why are we waiting for them to attack and then we respond? Why can't we go after them? We are in a state of war. These areas should be declared war zones, and the army, the Air Force, the Navy, everyone should go in there and kill these people. Will there be collateral damage? Will innocent people be killed? Yes. In every war, some innocent people get killed. But it is better to prosecute this war, kill all these bandits, kill these terrorists once and for all, and then let's have some peace in this country. It is not lack of intelligence. It is not lack of surveillance equipment. It is lack of response by the action agencies.
But gentlemen, you heard the Kaduna State governor there saying it is not the lack of intelligence. So it appears to me that what we are confronting today as a country is a lack of the political will to do the needful. Commodore Balogun. You will be correct.
Thank you very much. Our hearts go out to those guys that we have lost and their families for finding the courage to bear the loss. It's so painful that at this level of our development, some stupid guys will come and embarrass us the way they are embarrassing us. And I think Governor El-Rufai said we should go and level the place. It could be an option. Yes, because I've had people criticizing him. It could be an option because towards the end of the war in Sri Lanka, they went through this from 1980. They had to do that. Anyway, along the way, they were doing other negotiations. But at the point, they declared, if you are for us, come this way. And they gave an ultimatum and said, if you don't come to us, then you are part of them. And when the ultimatum expired, they went after them. Yes, a lot of the other countries of the world condemned them. But today, what is happening in Sri Lanka? They have relative peace. It is an option, but I will not say we should do that because we won't be killing innocent citizens in the process. So it's a delicate thing to do and it requires a lot of tact. So I will not support that. But there are other ways that we can solve this issue. I've heard some other people say the towns along Kaduna Road, that is from Jere to Katari to Akilibu to Wijana, we should level the place. No, why level them? When you can insert your intelligence inside, get the details of those guys, because those guys may not be residing in those villages. So if you tell us the military should go and level the place, it might be innocent people you have there. The guys that come to attack, like rape, they come on bikes, so they could be coming from anywhere. But then we need to improve on our surveillance. We need to be more vigilant, and we need to get the citizens involved in what we are doing. There's no way you have 100 motorcycles coming in and nobody will see and nobody will say something. Is because most of the time we alienate the citizens, we alienate the community from what the military is doing. So it should be an all-inclusive approach. I will not totally support Governor right? But I think the situation we find ourselves, we can still achieve if we sit down and think deep on ways of solving this problem.
Mr. Jumbo, there is a school of thought that says, as of today, the problem on our hand with bandit terrorism is much greater than what we have ever faced with the Boko Haram insurgents.
At the risk of comparing failures, which I don't like doing, when the politicians speak, you hear somebody in APC say, no, Boko Haram did more when PDP was in power. You hear somebody in PDP saying, no, it's worse now that APC is in power. Comparing failures. We had terrible times under Boko Haram. We seem to be having more terrible times now. Because under Boko Haram, it was limited men to a particular place. But in recent times, we've seen that they have escalated. They are also taking territories. They are moving. It wasn't this bad in Niger. It wasn't this bad. It wasn't this close to Abuja. So I don't agree that one is better now than it was before. It brings me to the times of the comparing failures, which I don't like to do. It is not true. It was bad. It is still very bad. That's my situation on that.
Commodore, this is a situation that many informed voices have weighed in on. And they seem to suggest that what we have on ground today is a war and not just the terrorism, because of the widespread nature of this terrorist act. It's not just in the northeast now. We have a situation so bad in the northwest, in the north central, and in fact in other parts of the country. We are seeing situations of abductions for ransom. We are seeing kidnappings. We are seeing farmers, herders clashes, bloody clashes, not just overland, but many people wonder what these herdsmen who go around with very sophisticated weapons are actually aiming at. Now, who are these bandit terrorists? Where are they from? Suggestions have been made as to the fact that they are from across borders, and that Nigeria's porous borders is partly responsible for this. Some others have related it to some kind of conspiracy theories of certain ethnic groups and ethnic nationalities wanting to dominate all other persons in Nigeria. So the question again is, who are these bandits? By our own intelligence, who are they? Where are they from?
Okay, for me, looking at the threats, you have kidnappers, you have bandits, you have terrorists, you have insurgents, all are security threats. And it is left for that man, especially the one that wedges the kinetic energy, and said, I'm going to use what I have against whoever is a threat. Either it's a kidnapper, bandit, or whoever, wherever they come from, does not matter. As long as you are empowered, make Nigeria safe. That is all you have to do. Now, it's good that we are accepting finally that we are at war. This is what we should have done long time ago, but we were playing games with it. Are we at war? We are not at war. In fact, immediately the last administration declared the state of emergency. We should have declared war. Then the military will have all the ability to, all the freedom to operate when you are at war than when you are in a conflict, because we said it was an internal security thing until now that we are being attacked from so many people. But then the situation we find ourselves is winnable. But like I used to tell some people, war is an art. It's not everybody that can do artwork. Why do I call it an art of war? In fact, Sun Tzu, the greatest strategist, calls one of his books the art of war. It's not every general that knows that art. So, what I think we should be doing is looking for competent people who will use the resources available to achieve the challenge or the objective we are aiming for. Yes, we've been complaining we don't have enough equipment, we lack manpower. I will say candidly here that what we have today in terms of manpower and asset, and looking at the challenges, we could do well still with those people rather than waiting till we have the whole world. Equipment does not fight the war. It is the man behind the equipment. How do you use that equipment? How do you engage your men? How do you deploy them? That's all that matters. And we want to go back a bit in our history. When we were fighting in Sierra Leone, our bosses was at the tactical level, but the guys at the top said, go and attack this place. We at the tactical level, we are not supposed to ask questions. They think for us. And we said, to attack that place? Okay, that's all your instructions are, we will. And we went and attacked that place. It did not occur to us that time that that was the center of gravity of those rebels until we saw the outcome of that attack. But then, the people that were thinking for us at the strategic level had positioned the army. After the Air Force attacked that place, you move in. Air Force will cover you. The Navy will block the sea. And that was what happened. We attacked the place, I won't want to mention the place, and the army was ordered to move, and the Air Force provided cover. The Navy was blocking the seaway, and within some days, we took over Freetown. But what happened when we took over Freetown? Yes, you can't kill everybody. Some of the rebels ran into the hinterland. What did we do? We followed them into the hinterland. It was a persistent pursuit until they lost the will to fight. But here, when we attack, we go back straight. It's like trying to kill a mosquito. The mosquito comes to your ear and you blow it away. What will happen? The mosquito will go away and come back. You blow it. That's what I think we are doing. We must change our tactics. I believe we still have enough. If we don't have enough equipment, let's get the required ones and start this thing and continue. We don't have to. Now we are pushing them back. Then we go to sleep. They will go back, reorganize, and come back. So we should change these tactics right now, and this thing is winnable for me.
Now, talking of tactics,
Yes.
talking of tactics, Mr. Jumbo, it does appear that The Nigerian military, by all standards, from all the foreign missions it has undertaken under UN and every other mission it has undergone, is a very capable, well-trained military. But this is not a conventional war. This is an asymmetrical war, and these are people who hit and disappear into the woods, into the forest, or into wherever that they disappear into. Now, some people have argued that the Nigerian military is underfunded, under-equipped, but Commodore seems to think that whatever they have right now in terms of equipment is enough to prosecute this war. So, is it the tactics being deployed, or is it the way to prosecute this war that is missing?
You said something here which is very fundamental. The hit and run. The hit and run. We've been saying this for almost 12, 13, 14 years now. That shows you that it is not true anymore. They hit the state. They've taken territories. There are places we can't go anymore because we know they are there. So what stops us from taking back those places? That's all. So the question of whether our tactical strategy is faulty or not, I believe it needs to be fine-tuned. How? Let's bring in a bit of alternative security into the regular military thing that we are doing now. I will explain. For example, in Lagos, Monobagi has done something. We are using the people themselves as security. In every community, we have people all over gathering information, supplying information. Any threat they see, the government receives it ahead of time. The people we call bad boys, area boys, miscreants, many of them are being transformed in Lagos. They are being used for the security of their communities. The same thing we can do in some of these places. Let us, like General said, like Allinclusive said, he said, involve the citizens. Every community know when they see a stranger. It's not like metropolitan Abuja that you and I are. In those communities, they know strangers. They know people infiltrate them and equip them with minimal resources. And they are amazed at how much information they will profile. It also takes shortage of willpower. What's our conviction in this battle? Are we convinced that we are in a warfare? And if we are convinced, do we still have people who have sympathy? Cultural, religious, and political sympathy for these people? These are questions begging for answer. I watched sometime, about 2 days ago on my social media page, a certain Nigerian somewhere knows where these bandits are. He has meetings with them. And the combination of our military with all the resources at their disposal are telling us they cannot get to these people. Something is wrong somewhere. Something definitely is wrong. The willpower might need to be energized, might need to be invigorated. The citizens need to be gotten more involved. Bring in a bit of something not conventional, which there are people who could come in with advice on what to do. We need to change tactics.
Is there a way to do that? Because you heard Governor El-Rufai say, look, we know where these people are. We listen to their conversations. So intelligence is not even giving reports. Yes, the intelligence is not the issue now. We have the intelligence. So the problem is the way to do that which is right and which can eliminate.
In Nigeria, you've seen, at the risk of sounding alarmist, we're in the warfare. Yet you see people come out to defend some actions because of cultural and religious affinity in the north. In the east, their own government are misbehaving. You will still see people, even in government, come out to defend them because of whatever political advantage they are going to get by letting those people hear that you say I'm supporting you. In this country, we've had people stand shorty for criminals, and when the criminals abscond, nothing happens to them. There must be a way power if we really want to come out of this. We're in dark states. That's a problem.
Yes, Commodore. At a point, as part of the strategy to limit the damage caused by this terrorism or by these bandits, there was the policy of linking SIM cards with phone numbers. I mean, names, national identity numbers with telephone numbers as a way. In fact, and by the way, that process supposedly ended at the end of March, and so all phones that were not linked at that point are supposedly inoperative from the 1st of April. But it appears that that has not worked well, because these people are still abducting individuals. Quite a number. Scott were abducted. Over 180 people are said to be missing after that train attack. And we hear now that they are making phone calls to relatives of some of these abducted persons and demanding ransom. In Abuja here, we understand that a traditional ruler was abducted, and the abductees are asking, the abductors are asking for 20 million naira, and in fact going as far as suggesting to the relatives of the traditional ruler to sell his house to pay them the 20 million naira ransom they are asking for. So what does this leave us with the policy of linkages?
Yes, I think the idea of registering SIM cards and everything was in good order. It's for us to have a database. And I've been involved somehow on the outside with some kidnapping cases. What they do now, the kidnappers, because they know that their SIM cards are registered, they use the SIM card of the victims. They will use the victim's phone to call. And then you see the victim's number, his name registered, and then you continue to negotiate. But then there are still some unregistered SIM cards out there that will not show any name, because sometimes when you are talking with them, they abruptly cut off that line and bring up another line so that you can't track. So it makes tracking more difficult. But then I think it was a good idea, and it should continue. It's not something we need to stop, because we need the database of everybody. At least with the phone lines, we can monitor them. But sir, I want us to go further in the all-inclusive approach. In 2001, we had a 9/11 attack, and that was the worst terrorist attack for the US. But what did they do after that? They said, okay, how do we combat such things? They went into something like an all-inclusive arrangement, and they came up with Homeland Security. In the Homeland Security network, there are about 22 or 25 government agencies under one umbrella. So all the agencies see something, they say something, and then they plan together. In Nigeria here, which agencies work together? None, because DSS is doing its own, Army is doing its own, road safety, immigration, everybody is doing their own. There is nowhere that you have that coalition where everything is coordinated. I watched your program on Friday after the attack of the airport on Friday, and the people that came to speak, the Army guys said they have layers of defense. The Air Force man came and said they had layers of defense. The civil man from the government, Kaduna State government also came and said they are working together. In an ideal situation, if you have the Kaduna airport you are protecting, the responsibility should fall on one man. Every effort, yes, today I hear they are working together, they are doing joint operation. For me, they are not joint enough. They are not joint enough. Yes, they joint, but I want to see jointly like I described, like the army is moving, the Air Force is on top, the Navy is wherever you require them to support the same thing. The police is on standby. And the only way we can get that is to create a multi-agency cooperation center.
And isn't that supposed to be under the purview of the National Security or the office of the NSA?
We got it wrong long time ago. The National Security Advisor is an advisor to the President of Security. Ordinarily, it shouldn't have been in charge of counterinsurgency and everything. But sometimes in 2010, one of the members of the houses raised something that everything should be under the NSA. And the NSA at that time, yes, accepted. Yes, I will handle it. And we just transferred all the powers of security, securing Nigeria to the NSA. It shouldn't have been. It should have been, for me, on my understanding, it should have been under the Ministry of Defense. That's the way it is practiced in the US. And the Ministry of Defense should oversee everything down from the president, from the president to him, to the CDS, to the service chiefs. That's the idea, because that's what we copied from the US standard, the US pattern. It's what is in our doctrines, and that's what we should practice. But when you now take the job of securing Nigeria and give to the NSA one man.
So that was the political decision at the time.
It was a political decision.
We have national decision.
We have maintained it. Like I said, the NSA authored the national security strategy in 2019. Passed it to the president's side. Who was to execute? We will have thought it would be the NSA. But nobody was tasked to execute. So, defense and security should be under the Ministry of Defense. In my opinion, it has all the resources and it can muster all the other agencies as well. In those days, we used to have a joint operations center, and that joint operations center have policemen, have custom, have immigration. We were not doing anything that they would not know. We were working together as a team. Somewhere along the line, we disbanded, and it has not been reestablished till today. So custom can do whatever they are doing, and everybody goes his own way. Until we accept that we are fighting a common foe, and everybody's contribution will be appreciated, because when we are together, we are stronger. But that's my take.
Yeah, Mr. Jumbo, for the optimist time last week, after the attack on the train, the Kaduna bound train, the president again gave another directive. I mean, he has given those directives so many times that one has lost count. But each time those directives are given, we see a few 1 or 2 days of military operation, and thereafter everything fizzles out.
Let's bring in a bit of alternative security into the regular military thing that we're doing now. I will explain. For example, in Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu has done something. We are using the people themselves as security. In every community, we have people all over gathering information, supplying information. Any threat they see, the government receives it ahead of time. The people you call bad boys, area boys, miscreants, many of them are being transformed in Lagos. They are being used for the security of their communities. The same thing we can do in some of these places. Let us, like General said, like Commander Balogun said, he said, involve the citizens. Every community know when they see a stranger. It's not like the metropolitan Abuja that you and I are. In those communities, They know strangers. They know when people infiltrate them. Equip them with minimal resources. And you'll be amazed at how much information they will proffer. It also takes us to willpower. What's our conviction in this battle? Are we convinced that we are in a warfare? And if we are convinced, do we still have people who have sympathy? Cultural, religious, and political sympathy for these people? These are questions begging for answer. I wrote sometime about 2 days ago on my social media page. A certain Nigerian somewhere knows where these bandits are. He has meetings with them. And the combination of our military with all the resources at their disposal are telling us they cannot get to these people. Something is wrong somewhere. Something definitely is wrong. The willpower might need to be energized, might need to be reinvigorated. The citizens need to be gotten more involved. Bring in a bit of something not conventional, which there are people who could come in with advice on what to do. We need to change tactics.
Is there the way to do that? Because you heard Governor El-Rufai say, look, we know where these people are. We listen to their conversations. So intelligence is not...
Is that they even give him reports?
Yes, the intelligence is not the issue now. We have the intelligence. Is it... So the problem is the will to do that which is right and which can eliminate...
In Nigeria, you've seen, at the risk of sounding alarmist, we are in a warfare, yet you see people come out to defend some actions because of cultural and religious affinity in the north. In the east, the unknown gunmen are misbehaving. You will still see people, even in governments, come out to defend them because of whatever political advantage they are going to get by letting those people hear that, you see, I'm supporting you. In this country, we've had people stand shorty for criminals, and when the criminals abscond, nothing happens to them. There must be a willpower if we really want to come out of this. We are in dire straits. That's a problem.
Yes, Commodore.
Yes, sir.
At a point, as part of the strategy to limit the damage caused by this terrorism or by these bandits, there was the policy of linking SIM cards with phone numbers. I mean, NIN, national identity numbers with telephone numbers as a way. In fact, and by the way, that process supposedly ended at the end of March, and so all phones that were not linked at that point are supposedly inoperative from the 1st of April. But it appears that that has not worked well, because these people are still abducting individuals. I mean, quite a number. Scores were abducted. Yes. Over 180 people are said to be missing after that train attack. And we hear now that they are making phone calls to relatives of some of these abducted persons and demanding ransom. In Abuja here, we understand that a traditional ruler was abducted, and the abductees are asking, or the abductors are asking for 20 million naira, and in fact going as far as suggesting to the relatives of the traditional ruler to sell his house to pay them the 20 million naira ransom they are asking for. So where does this leave us with this policy of linkages?
Yes, I think the idea of registering SIM cards and everything was in good order. It's for us to have a database. And I've been involved somehow on the outside with some kidnapping cases. What they do now, the kidnappers, because they know that their SIM cards are registered, they use the SIM card of the victims.
They will use the victim's phone to call. And then you see the victim's number, his name registered, and then you continue to negotiate. But then there are still some unregistered SIM cards out there that will not show any name, because sometimes when you are talking with them, they abruptly cut off that line and bring up another line so that you can't track. So it makes tracking more difficult. But then I think it was a good idea, and it should continue. It's not something we need to stop, because we need the database of everybody. At least with the phone lines, we can monitor them. But sir, I want us to go further in the all-inclusive approach. In 2001, we had a 9/11 attack. And that was the worst terrorist attack for the US. But what did they do after that? They said, okay, how do we combat such things? They went into something like an all-inclusive arrangement. And they came up with Homeland Security. In the Homeland Security Network, there are about 22 or 25 government agencies under one umbrella. So all the agencies see something, they say something, and then they plan together. In Nigeria here, which agencies work together? None, because DSS is doing its own, Army is doing its own, road safety, immigration, everybody is doing their own. There is nowhere that you have that collation where everything is coordinated. I watched your program on Friday after the attack of the airport on Friday, and the people that came to speak, the Army guy said they have layers of defense. The Air Force man came and said they had layers of defense. The civil man from the government, the Kaduna State government, also came and said they are working together. In an ideal situation, if you have the Kaduna airport you are protecting, the responsibility should fall on one man. And that is the man we should talk to. He will tell you what he has in place to secure the field. Not that you call the Army garrison commander to come and say what the Army is doing. You call the Air Force commander from there to come and say, no, you are securing one place, the airport. You should have one organization, one element, and with somebody on top. That is how you are able to coordinate all those assets. Not that you have layers. Who is in charge of those layers? The Army layers are in charge of, Army is in charge of that. The Air Force layers belong to the Air Force. No, until we get to that point, that all of us sit and say, this is what we want to do. Best man, what do you have to contribute? Money, what do you have to contribute for a common goal? Immediately, the current Minister of Defense became minister. He came up and said, we should have a workshop, 2 days workshop on interagency cooperation, so that to enhance synergy among the operatives. And the 2 days workshop was well attended. There were resolutions that came out of it, and the need for the agencies to work together so that they can be under one umbrella and speak the same voice. What came out of it? That was 2 years ago. Nothing. We finished that thing, spent money, wasted everybody's time. There were resolutions. Did we implement them? No. Going back to the National Security Strategy, that paper was signed in 2019. It was authored by the NSA, and it was signed by the president, saying the same thing that we are saying now, that it's an all-inclusive approach. Everybody must be involved. Religious leaders, traditional leaders, NGOs, MDAs, even down to individuals who have knowledge of what is required to keep our environment safe, must come forward. We have finished signing that paper since 2019. Have we implemented any of those things? No. So if you don't, you have Army, Navy, Air Force. Yes, today I hear they are working together, they are doing joint operation. For me, they are not joint enough. They are not joint enough. Yes, they joint, but I want to see jointness like I described, like the Army is moving, the Air Force is on top, the Navy is wherever you require them to support the same thing. The police is on standby. And the only way we can get that is to create a multi-agency cooperation center.
And isn't that supposed to be under the purview of the National Security or the office of the NSA?
We got it wrong long time ago. The National Security Advisor is an advisor to the president on security. Ordinarily, it shouldn't have been in charge of counterinsurgency and everything. But sometimes in 2010, one of the members of the houses raised something that everything should be under the NSA. And the NSA at that time, yes, accepted. Yes, I will handle it. And we just transferred all the powers of security, securing Nigeria to the NSA. It shouldn't have been. It should have been, for me, my understanding, it should have been under the Ministry of Defense. That's the way it is practiced in the US. And the Ministry of Defense should oversee everything down from the president, from the president to him, to the to the CDS, to the service chiefs. That's the idea, because that's what we copied from the US standard, the US pattern. Is what is in our doctrines, and that's what we should practice. But when you now take the job of securing Nigeria and give to the NSA, one man.
So that was a political decision at the time.
It was a political decision.
Was not a professional decision.
We have maintained it. Like I said, the NSA authored the national security strategy in 2019. Pass it to the president signed. Who was to execute? We would have thought it would be the NSA. But nobody was tasked to execute. So, defense and security should be under the Ministry of Defense. In my opinion, he has all the resources and he can muster all the other agencies as well. In those days, we used to have a joint operations center. And that joint operations center have policemen, have custom, have immigration. We were not doing anything that they would not know. We were working together as a team. Somewhere along the line, we disbanded, and it has not been reestablished today. So custom can do whatever they are doing, and everybody goes his own way. Until we accept that we are fighting a common force, and everybody's contribution will be appreciated, because when you are together, you are stronger. But that's my take.
Yeah, Mr. Jumbo, for the umpteenth time last week, after the attack on the train, the Kaduna-bound train, the president again gave another directive. I mean, he has given those directives so many times that one has lost count. Well, each time those directives are given, we see one or 2 days of military operations, and thereafter everything fizzles out. But then he was this time around was talking of implementing what you describe as the integrated security surveillance and monitoring solution. What is that integrated solution that has been talked about?
Of course, that's what he's been explaining all the issue of a joint and an integrated work plan. I'm not surprised that when the president issues his orders and directives, we just see some motions and there are no movements. Why? Because nobody gets fired. We are in a system where people don't take responsibilities. I asked the question, is it that the National Security Advisor, the NSA, has done well, that's kept him in position all these years? By now, voluntarily, he should have resigned. The same way, on the lighter mood, I was asking someone today, I said, is Ahmad Jupin the same person to employ a new Super Eagles coach? The same way, the NSA has still remained in office. So when the president gives his orders, and he understands that nothing will happen, it keeps on going on. So the integrated thing is actually what we need now. Let there be, like in election, we have what we call situation room. Let's have a situation room, which is like a factory where these things are cooked. Air Force, Army, Navy, other interests that can enhance their job. Like I keep saying, alternative security interests. Bring them in. When you cook, let everybody be on the same page. It is the same war. It is not a case of Army indicting Air Force. Like we've had severally. Air Force indicting the Army. It shouldn't at this stage, because we are losing lives, we are losing people, we are losing credibility. They've started issuing travel directories against Nigeria. Before you know it, like you said, more states will be involved. Who is losing? We are losing. Beyond that, I don't know what we feel when people lose their lives in this country. Are we sure Ukraine have lost more people than Nigeria? But the world cries when they lose their citizens. But Nigeria is become a common day thing. Now we've had the train attack. We've had
The second in a space of 6 months.
we've had a sampling with our airports. Have we seen any movements around the other airports? Are we waiting for that to be a major strike before we start? As we are hitting, as we are increasing, okay, I asked the question. By now, if we hear that federal government just via executive orders of the president slash all the minister salaries, all the senate, everything, why? To raise money to employ more people into the military. It's an ad hoc thing. It's an emergency. Yeah, we are not massively recruiting. We are not yet ready for this war. We are not ready.
Come on, though. Where some will say we're lucky to have a president who is a retired army general. And the expectation was that, look, strong armed tactics would have put this down, this terrorism and the insurgency down long before now. But with a few months to the end of his tenure and several years after we got into this catastrophe that is staring us in the face now, we're now beginning to consult with our neighbors. Is it too late?
The president is an ex-army general. But then, in the situation we find ourselves, it's not only the kinetic way that can solve this issue. Everything must come in, but political, governance, and social things with the citizens. So the president, as a former military leader, cannot just order the military go and do this without taking into consideration the other aspect of counterterrorism. In that same national security strategy, it says that over the years we have believed that the solution to securing Nigeria is with the military and the police. But now we must shift our focus from the military and the police to an all-encompassing. And that's what I said the Americans did with the creation of the Homeland Security, which involved everybody. Now, you are talking about what are the reasons why people go into this kind of thing? Unemployment, hunger. This hunger, I will use a small story that happened to me last week. And you will see what hunger can push people to. It was in Abuja here. I went and attended a meeting. And when I left the meeting, I was so hungry and I needed to eat something. So I branched in a fast food place, bought chicken. I couldn't get home. I said, on the way, I said, let me eat. And I parked along that road going to Garki, behind the NNPC quarters. And I parked there. And I started eating. I was in my car. And I started eating the chicken nugget. Now, looking down ahead of me, I saw some boys under a tree, clustering. But I looked well, and I saw them holding cutlass, diggers, shovel. That means they were artisans. Waiting for somebody to engage them. And they were there under the tree. Plenty. As I was about finishing my chicken, I saw a boy came from the valley, and he had some fruit in his hand. But I think he said he felt that the fruit would not go around those children. He just threw it at them. And when he threw it, all of them started struggling for this fruit. And I saw what the boy did. So I drove to them. I called the boy who went to pack it was mango, the mango, and I said, come, I like your attitude. I like what you just did. You went and got fruit for you. And the boy said, they are hungry. That since morning they have been there, no work, nobody is looking after them. I say, I like your spirit. Take 1,000, continue to look after your colleagues. But as I was giving him the 1,000 naira, the rest came close. And they were trying to mob me. I said, okay, I've given this one because he did well. The rest of you take this other 1,000, go and buy, drink pure water. What happened next, I didn't believe. They blocked my car. But then blocking of my car was not that they don't want me to go. They were so happy that at that time I was say Baba, and I look at them.
If you needed them for any evil at that time,
That is the way
they would
I
have followed you.
Those guys, I just gave 2,000 and they took me for God. What if I wanted to use them for something negative? I would just give them 5,000. Let's go. Take your gun. That is what we find ourselves. Unemployment, hunger. It can push anybody to anywhere. So those are the areas the government should be looking at. How do we get these boys off the street and get them some level of employment?
We run a deformed, I call it deformed federal system. But, I mean, all the same, the subnationals, and that's talking about the states, have a role to play in our security architecture. Now, are they doing enough?
Well, I wouldn't just do a blanket criticism of all the states. At least, I've been involved in a couple of states because of what I do. It can never be enough. But some states have started. You know, sometimes you get people in power to start a process, to create those processes that others will follow. When he was talking about those kids now, I was just remembering what we are doing in Lagos, where a whole lot have been put in different communities and in different cells, monitoring them, providing little for them, using them for security. Now, and why is it that when you interview most of our governors now, they want state police, but let them leave office, interview them tomorrow, they won't support state police? We're so selfish. And that's where the willpower comes in. We're selfish. Because you see a couple of states, I wouldn't like to mention, but some states have started the process, and I think all that should follow.
Commander, what do you think that the states can do better? Particularly those ones that are worse affected right now. What can they do better than they are doing right now? Erifai has on several times spoken about how much support they are giving to the security agencies to get information and to do what they are doing. But there are states that are not doing as much as Kaduna State, or who are doing more than what even Kaduna State is doing. Yet this does not seem to be yielding the desired results. What more can they do?
You know, they're even threatening mercenaries now, bringing in mercenaries.
Yes.
At the state level, yeah. If I said it.
I had it. Bringing mercenaries, for me, is not a crime. Because what you cannot do yourself, you can hire professionals to help you do. But mercenaries, yes, we brought them earlier and they were doing well. We can also use Nigerians who are out there, experienced. You have soldiers that you have trained severally, they have that experience, and they are still willing to serve their fatherland. So what do you need? Call them. And that's why in the other countries they call them reserves. And when you have emergency, they bring them in. They are your asset. But we have reserve in Nigeria on paper. In fact, it's not even on paper, on the lips. We don't have them on ground. They are available, but officially they are not available. So we may not require mercenary from outside. We turn our own to mercenaries. The Goldwater people are Americans, and Americans use them anywhere. There are mercenary companies everywhere. Americans use, other countries use them. It's to help you augment what you want to do. And they say, oh, I lack in this place. Can you come and help me? It's temporary. And once you finish or they serve you, you pay them for their service and they go back to where they came from. So we may not need mercenary from outside, but we need more people in the armed forces to help quell what is happening. That's my take.
Mr. Jumbo, talking about mercenaries, We experimented with it in the past. We brought in South Africans, and these South Africans have made a huge success of it in very many countries across Africa and all of that. Now, Air Commodore is talking about having to fall back on our reserve.
And local mercenaries.
Yes, our local mercenaries. People that you have invested so much in training. People who you bring in and they will not be strange to the environment and will not be even strange to the military, to the Nigerian armed forces. In any way, they can relate better than maybe foreign mercenaries. Would that be a viable option?
Sometimes strange situations require drastic solutions. I'm beginning to think that when Governor Rufai said what he said, I saw a reason for it to an extent. Probably when they bring them in, they will come and do what they did before. But unfortunately, the challenge is different from what they faced when they first came. Again, won't there be sabotage from even within? If we have sabotage right now, that they are giving a governor report, these are where the people are, this is what they said, and the people who are supposed to take action are not taking, and you bring in mercenaries, won't they be sabotaged? If we expand the scope of our local mercenaries now, make it all inclusive, let people come in, bring in others into what the armed forces are doing now, we might have results. But I think we cannot throw away any suggestion now. My only challenge and fear is in the area of sabotage. And that sentiment and prejudice of culture, religion, and politics that is holding us back. And that's what's holding the willpower we need to have won this war.
Commodore, as we round up our discussion, I want us to look forward. What do you see happening in the next 1 month, for instance, the next 6 months, in the next 1 year? Are we likely to see a situation where these terrorists will become more emboldened by their successes, their recent successes, to want to venture into bigger attacks? Or are we likely to see a situation where government will really pick up the gauntlet and deal with this decisively?
Yes, sir. What I will wish to see is for us to go back to the drawing board. These guys are not better than us. Even the mercenaries we are talking about, if we sit down and check what they brought to Nigeria when they came to fight, and what we have, they had nothing compared to what we have now. So I will want to see the armed forces and the police and whoever is involved to sit down and rethink and plan on ways of how to counter these guys, because they are not a match. They should not be a match to the Nigerian armed forces and the Nigeria as a whole. So what I hope will happen is that we will match them and then we'll continuously push them back. But then we need to sit down and think deeply. It should not be business as usual. Yeah. Okay, they come, we pursue them, we repel them, or we report, we neutralize them. No, let us do a relentless pursuit. That is continuously pursue them. If people say they know where we know where they are, I will support it, because I don't think 100 bikes moving in a row in Nigeria can be hidden anywhere. As a pilot, if I'm flying those days and I see a rebel or two, I know who they are. Not to talk of 100, in fact, that's to my advantage. I see 100 bikes, one round, they are done. So I need to see our military do more. They must also be boldened more than the guys that are harassing us everywhere. And
all right, let's leave it at that. Thank you.
And I think the question, are people making money from the continuous warfare? We need to answer that question.
Well, that's a question that we need to answer another day. Thank you so much. Air Commodore Abayomi Balogun is a former Deputy Director Operations and founder Green Heroes Foundation. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, Bestman Zejombo, Alternative Security Specialist, joining us here on People, Politics and Power. Thank you so much for your time today. All right, that's our program for today. Please join us again when we bring you a fresh edition of the program. Bye for now.